Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to another podcast episode of Threads of Tenderness, where we talk about everything growth, connection, healing, the complexities of life, and what it's like to be human. We, of course, have our guest, who's not such a special guest because she's always on here, perhaps more like a co-host. And today we're going to dive into a topic that many of us wrestle with, dating. But more specifically, how do you approach dating while you're healing? How do you open yourself up to love while you're also still trying to heal those open wounds? And a lot of people ask themselves, can you do both? Can you heal and actively date? And I believe that you can. In fact, I know you can. I know there are some folks in other camps who think differently, but I actually think it's the perfect time to apply the skills that you're learning and help you date differently while also being able to put yourself as a priority. It's a really tight rope to walk, right? It's this idea that you recognize that you're always going to be a work in progress, but more particularly, this is the season that you're in where, again, that is the focus of what you're doing. And then there's the other side of things where we crave intimacy, we crave connection, we crave being loved and giving love. And this feels really relevant to me. I've spent the last couple of months really focusing on how do I show up for myself and prioritize myself? What are the insecurities that I'm having specific to myself that are showing up in dating? And how do I date intentionally while also valuing myself, right? Not betraying myself. One big revelation that I had recently is this idea of building your home from within. And I finished the book by Najwa Zebian, Welcome Home, absolute must read and reread. And it really helped put things into perspective and give me language for some of the experiences that I'm having. This idea that I tend to put my home in the person that I'm dating. And when they leave, they take that home with them. So I feel empty. I feel homeless. And that begs the question of how do we build a home within ourselves so we have that foundation so that when people inevitably leave, people come in our lives, we still have a leg to stand on, essentially. Before we invite someone into that home, we need to ask ourselves a couple of questions. Do I feel safe? Do I feel loved? Do I feel worthy? Do I feel valued in my own home? If you're still building that structure and that home, that is totally fine. And I think one of the most important things is to figure out what is it that we're seeking in other people and how can we give that to ourselves. And so this might look like if I am seeking to feel secure because my past experiences have made me feel insecure, unstable, unworthy, and we're hoping that this external thing can give us that, we need to figure out how can we foster a similar feeling for ourselves, if not the same feeling. Another example would be like, if I am looking to feel worthy in a relationship because my inner monologue, my thoughts are telling me I am worthy only if I'm X size. I am worthy only if I have X, Y, and Z. Those are the scripts that we are holding so close to our chest and allowing to dictate the way we see ourselves, the way we think about others, and what we believe we deserve. That really hits close to home, no pun intended, that I tend to do this. I tend to have my worth depend on external things. So my worth depends on how willing someone is to receive me and welcome me into their home, which is such a huge thing and problem. And because of that, I begin to behave anxiously in my dating relationships. I am trying to make sure that I'm holding on to this very thing because, again, I don't want this to confirm the bias that I have in my mind that if this person leaves, it's because I wasn't worth it, or it's because I didn't look like X, Y, and Z. And there's such power in being able to have this level of awareness for yourself and for the others, so folks you are dating, here's where I'm at and here's what I'm actively working on. And that's an opportunity to also allow your partner to hold you accountable.
That's right, Remy, you tell him.
So one way we can heal while actively dating is to figure out what are our triggers, what are the things that make us more vulnerable to have those insecurities lead and guide our behavior, our thoughts, and so forth. And then you can figure out, how do I respond rather than react, right? So when the person you're dating doesn't text you for a day or two, whatever, and this is early in the stages of dating, you haven't really established where you're at, or maybe you have, what are you instantly telling yourself? Not worthy, you're talking to someone better, right? And what do we tend to do? We then tend to perhaps be a little bit more aggressive in our approach, perhaps accusatory. Whatever your reaction tends to be that is fueled by your insecurity is how we normally respond, right? But what I'm encouraging us to do is to stop, pause for a second, and ask ourselves, how am I feeling? What am I feeling? And where is this coming from? And that way you can name the emotions that you're feeling and experiencing without projecting that onto the person you're dating. I think a lot of our downfall is also thinking with our emotion mind, right? So we tend to go off chemistry. We say things feel right, it feels different, I feel safe. And that, don't get me wrong, is important. But going off of feeling alone is very dangerous because our feelings aren't always fact. That's the other part of this. And I think that would actually be a great topic for another episode. You want to ask yourself, does this person make me feel safe? And do they create a space where I can continue to grow independently and with them? Do they respect my boundaries? Are they encouraging my healing journey? I hear this a lot, this idea of what if I'm too much, right? Like women tend to dim their light, make themselves smaller so that they could sort of fit into this mold that they think that they need to be. And babe, I'm here to tell you, I strongly, strongly, strongly believe that the right person will receive you and be ready to receive you just the way you are. Oof, that just gave me chills. For some people, maybe it is too much, right? Like there's an aspect to this where we have to be okay with acknowledging that we're not everyone's cup of tea. People are going to have their thoughts. Absolutely, it's hurtful to hear that, right? But I think that's the other reality of things, that people are going to pass their judgments. But when you build that home within yourselves, those stones will not break your home. They might break a window, they might cause some damage, but it's repairable. The structure is still there. You are not completely shattered. And the hope is that you find someone who's willing to honor all parts of you. I think the other thing that folks don't talk about too often, and maybe they are and I'm just missing it, but this idea of what if I hurt someone while I'm still working on my hurt self? So that could look like my insecurities causing me to react and I say things that I don't mean because I'm hurt. And that will happen, could happen. I think the most important thing is that you're able to be honest with your partner. Again, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm working on. Here's how I tend to show up. Here's what I'm hoping I don't do. And a partner who's able to work through that conflict with you while also recognizing that falling into old habits, and how can I help you? And what do you need from me when you're feeling X? What do you need from me when you do Y? And I want you to remember this. You are not broken. You are becoming. And in that process, people are going to come into your home. They're going to knock at your door. You get to decide who you want to let in, who gets to stay temporarily, who deserves to leave. And when you do have that right person come into your home, that person is not going to come in your life and complete you. They will simply add to what is already beautifully existing and standing firm in your home. What do I need right now? to build a home within myself, or simply to invite someone to the porch. Maybe you're not quite ready to bring someone in, but just maybe hang out in the driveway, on the porch. Love to hear about what resonated with you, what spoke out to you, because I'd imagine you're thinking about your own stuff that prevents you from building that home within yourself. So thank you for joining us on this very quick episode of Threads of Tenderness. So until next time, my friends, be kind to yourself. I love you, and I will see you in the next one.